watching. If not, I guess I'm just talking to myself, but hopefully someone will show up. And when they do, we'll get started. Let's see here. Okay, it looks like someone's watching. So, hi, how are you? Hope you're having a great weekend. Um, this is something I've been talking to some of my friends about doing. Just some really brief, some just a brief rundown of just really the basics, the really bare basics of 3D printing, specifically for toy collecting, or really just my experience for doing this. Looks like I'm getting some kind of audio coming through over on my toy cam there. Um, the idea here is that toy 3D printing is really not that difficult. It's not something that I found a lot of, or I didn't have. I've had very good experience doing it, and you know, it's been a lot of fun for me. But when I speak to a lot of people I know, I don't really get that type of feedback. A lot of people are either hesitant. They're maybe they don't feel like it's quite there yet. But the idea here is that maybe you can make that decision on your own. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of some of the things that I like about it and that I've done, and um, you know um, you can make that decision for yourself. Uh, been busy printing and refining this. Today, what we're going to do is just try and repair this helicopter that I purchased. It is missing the rotor, and I'm hoping that um, yeah, I can make an adequate replacement, something that approximates what was there. And hey, Bjorn, how are you? No, you haven't missed anything. I've been just kind of rambling and talking to myself for a couple minutes because there's no one else here. So, uh, you know, if you're here, that's one person, and I'd be happy to just go ahead and get started then. So I put together like a really just rudimentary kind of slideshow here, just going through the basics of what I like, and then we're going to finish with finally getting the part on this helicopter here. So without further ado, let's take a look and see what we got. So let's make that one bigger. Yeah, that is the Checkpoint Alpha, the GI Joe, and we'll get into that in just a couple seconds there and take a look. So, like I said, specifically, this is 3D printing for toy collectors. There's actually, many other uses for 3D printing, but this is just, how can it help your toy collecting hobby? So, just real quick, I've owned a 3D printer for about 2 years now. I've dabbled in printing my own pre-made designed items, as well as constructing a few of my own. I've really enjoyed it, and I found it much easier than I originally thought it would be. And I've just noticed through conversations both in and out of the toy community that most people perceive this hobby as more complicated than I find it to be. Like a lot of you out there, we imagine things and want to create customs or repair items that have seen better days, but maybe lack the skills to sculpt or fabricate those items and get discouraged when things don't turn out so great. That's happened to me before. Making good usable, you know, getting good usable results with 3D printing is not very hard. And seeing your imagined item come to life is a really wonderful feeling. I've got some disclaimers there and just want to say hi to Bill. How you doing, Bill? Um, Guys, to you watching out there, if you are interested in getting into the 3D printing hobby, I'm no expert. Please take everything I say as just friendly advice. I'm not saying that this is the right way to do anything. Go out there, do your research, watch some YouTube videos. There's tons of them out there. Read reviews, read some articles, and make your own decisions based on the preferences that you like and your comfort level. And then to any experts out there that may be watching, I know I'm obviously not an expert. I'm just a beginner here. I know that there are better ways to get from A to Z. I know that you may not like X brand for this reason or that. I know that such and such software is better than that one or this one. I also understand that there's a huge difference between someone like me who's just tinkering in their spare time and someone who does this professionally. I welcome constructive feedback and suggestions that make the hobby better, but please refrain from bashing anyone or products or crap like that because it really just doesn't help. I'm a beginner, just like you may be out there, and maybe what I'm sharing with you today may help you decide if you want to take your first steps into this hobby. Like I said before, I think the biggest obstacle you are going to face with 3D printing is yourself. If you have a desire to get into the hobby, the learning curve and obstacles you might have to overcome are not very difficult. If I can do it, just about anyone can. Everyone has their own, different comfort level when it comes to technology and creative ventures, so I understand that. My goal is to lay out the basics and let you decide what's right for you. Uh, oh, hi, Lack, how are you? And apologies. Oh, don't apologize. It's all right. And then Jordan saying, I always say this may not be the proper way to do this, but this is how I'm going to do it. And if at the end result you get something good. So then the next slide here is just managing expectations. Kieran Ball, how are you today? How you doing? So there's a lot of opinions, myths, misconceptions, or exaggerated expectations when it comes to 3D printing. In this stream, I hope to share with you some of my personal experience with the hobby and both dispel myths as well as keep your expectations grounded in reality. And as you can see on the side there, the one slide, some people say that that's the best result you could get with a 3D printer, that you're going to have this spaghettified mess. The lines are horrible. And look at that. You can't get good results. And then on the other side of that, you've got people here who think it's a Star Trek replicator. And, we have a little slide there that I cheesily put together, and it says, which exact replicas of vintage toys would you like, sir? And then he says, all of them. And you just press a button, and there you go. There's all your vintage toys just jackpotting out of the machine there, which is not the case, obviously. So let's move on here. So let's just go over some of the basics, guys. Let's define some of the common terms you're going to encounter in the hobby, and we'll keep it as simple as we can. First of all, filament printing is the process of using a long continuous filament that's melted and deposited in a pattern and layered to form a 3D product, um, form a 3D object. The most common type of all-purpose filament is PLA, which is what I'm using here, but there are dozens, if not hundreds, of different materials that come in filament form that you could use for the hobby. Resin printing uses light-sensitive resin and an LCD screen to flash an image and harden that resin in layers, just like filament. There are many types of resins you could use. You're also going to be using a slicer software. The software takes your 3D model, it slices it up, and it generates the code that your printer uses to make the object. Within your slicer, you're going to find even more settings that can be fine-tuned for various results. We'll talk about those in a little bit. And then file types like STL or OBJ are the most common file types that I've encountered. There may be other ones as well. So there are many resources out there. Please, if you're interested in 3D printing, go out there, consult the experts, and I encourage you, please look those up. So printers, what can I say? First things first, you'll need a printer, right? I'm not going to go saying which one you should buy or not. That decision is yours to make. There are people I know that only like the finest things in life. They want the one with all the bells and whistles. They want the best stuff, you know. And there you go. There's Get Fusion 360. Learn it. See, um, you know, that's something I don't have. We're going to see that later. I'm using something much more rudimentary, but you know, everyone has an opinion on, on what they like, you know, or what they use. But yeah, there's a printer out there for every budget out there from 100, 500, 1,000. It's up to you. I'll say that some more of the recent models, you know, they cost a little more, but they haven't, you know, upgrades that make your life easier. They offer self-leveling, Wi-Fi connection, improved feed mechanisms, higher resolution, and so on. A bigger build surface, things like that. But you can get good results without all the bells and whistles. The most common two common types out there are the filament and the resin. Resin printing will produce more detailed results, perfect for hobby miniatures or action figures and accessories. Machine has a fewer adjustments. There's really not much to change on there, so that's a pro. But pre-processing could be tricky for larger or thick models with extra steps needed to be taken. Post-processing can be a chore as well. Resin can be brittle, and the smell is pretty bad for some resins. It's also toxic. You don't want to get that on your skin. Um, so that's, you know, a con to resin printing. But if you follow the steps and, you know, wear gloves, you should be just fine. Filament makes large items cheaper. Filament is generally, you know, more durable. It's not as brittle, but it's great for vehicles and play sets. I've found, or larger items. Um, it's easy and cheap material to handle, and you know, the cons are, you know, maybe a little less resolution. You know, you're going to see some layer lines. Um, there's a lot more moving parts on the printer that require adjustment and maintenance more often. Uh, so just going to chat there. I'm pretty sure me and Will have the same printer. Yeah, I think so, Bjorn. I think we've spoken about that. And Laxang Fusion 360 is a program everyone needs to learn. Yeah, oh, definitely. I think so. And just saying, yeah, I'm not judging. I'm just saying, learn Fusion to make your program no matter what CNC you use, 3D printing, a mill, lathe, plasma cutter, wood, router, all of it. Yeah, I agree totally. I think they should, you know, teach it in school. My son had a brief 3D printing, you know, class in school, and they were just getting into it, and it was just a couple of years ago. But I think they should be teaching this, you know, everywhere. That'd be great. I wish I learned it. So what to print, guys? That's the great part because as a toy collector, there is so much. It offers a lot of value to the hobby. While 3D printed toys or items will never replace your vintage originals, but rather enhance them. You could easily make replacement parts for broken toys. That's a replacement part right there on the stamp. Just so you can see, I'll show a little later there, but that can in there. You can make your own things. You know, you could rescale your beloved toys to a newer size never offered, or make an unmade prototype, figure, accessory, or vehicle. Best of all, you can even produce your own original ideas. There's dozens of amazing creators out there selling files at very affordable rates. You could also spend the rest of your life and never pay a cent making stuff that you could find on websites and never run out of stuff to print. But please, guys, if you're out there and you're printing stuff up, I know a lot of people get this itch. You know, they're like, "Oh, I could sell this," but please respect the wishes of the creators. If someone created something and they put it out there for free, adhere to the license terms and keep the community thriving, guys. There was an awesome creator out there that was making fantastic stuff specifically for GI Joe, and he was putting tons of free content out there, but he pulled it all because people were taking it and then just trying to sell those designs, and he just got fed up and sick of it. And I've seen that with many other ones where I followed that creator, I go back, I check to see what they're up to, and they've pulled all their models. Jordan saying there's a company called Techo Twiz that sells 3D printed toys and vehicles. Yes, and Lack saying, yes, some machinist schools with cutting edge teachers are teaching Fusion 360. Only the stubborn teachers are still teaching students only AutoCAD, Corel, or yeah. Yeah, it really doesn't make sense. I think at the end of the day, diversifying your skill base and learning as many things as you can only help. It just seems odd to stick to just one thing. When there's so many, and and if you're not content with what's out there, you could remix kit bash or create your own items pretty easily in 3D design software. There's plenty out there. Lack was just mentioning one. So you could pull, that item in there, and I could show you an example of that. Oh, as a matter of fact, yes, I do watch Mighty Jabba's collection. I love it. He 3D printed a life-size Jabba, and actually, he's going to be in one of the slides coming up. So I think you'll like that. So here we go. That's actually down there on the left-hand side. So this is just a screenshot of Thingiverse and Colts 3D, which is just two of the biggest websites out there with repositories of 3D printed files you could download. And as you can see, I just typed in like action figure, and you got 4.86 thousand search results from Colts 3D, and then I filtered free. So these are just all free. Uh, you know, like I said, you can knock yourself out. You could print to your heart's content and probably never run out of things to print and find really cool things. You can see a little action figure there. Some of them, yeah, that guy is crazy. Love Mighty Java's collection. He's a great dude. I chat with him every now and then. Oh, yeah, he's wonderful. I'm a huge fan. And if you look on the left hand side of the page, down there, there's a guy with a stormtrooper helmet on, peeking out from behind a life size Java. That's him. He actually has the files on Thingiverse for free if you want to print one out. So the Java you can print out at 1/18 scale, which is no problem, but he also included the files if you want to see it printed out at life size scale. But an absolute maniac. But as you can see, there's some really cool things here. I mean, just on the top of this page here, you got the Razor Crest from the Mandalorian. Now I downloaded that file. It's like a 40 something hour print, but that could be fun and worth it. You've got the Naboo fighter that was converted. That's right there for free. Uh, and he's saying he heard that job is stuck in his basement. I can imagine, man. It's huge. Uh, yeah. He wants to see everyone's 3D Star Wars stuff. He is a cool cat. Yeah, he is. He's absolutely a legend in my book. Down there, you can see there's a Mandalorian speeder bike. I actually printed that one, and I have my Mandalorian action figure on it. But there's just so many things you could print. Here's just a couple things that I printed. You can see some of them are right there on the toy cam right now. There's some, large Transformers. There's a Snake Armor from GI Joe, He-Man, the Mandalorian, ED-209 from RoboCop. There's some accessories that I printed for my Batman figure, a couple holsters for him. Um, there's a Robin. I printed him a staff that clips onto his back there. That was just something I made. And then there's Nightwing. I made these fighting sticks, the Eskrima sticks, I think they're called, or something, and a backpack to slap them into. And that was just something I made there. So here's just some other things I printed too. I thought it might be interesting to see if you could take some of those. Someone just put generic blank legs for GI Joe figures out there, so I took them into a program and I stretched them a little bit, made them just a little bit taller, because I just thought that'd be nice to have. You get some height difference with your GI Joe characters. They're all exactly the same height. You just notice that there would be slightly differences and those things. And then on this last slide here, you can see that's a resin printed figure I did. There's a couple little scrapes and stuff on the legs, but all in all, it came out really clean and the details really crisp and nice. So, and Black saying, "Do you understand what will be possible once we get a metal alloy 3D printer that has machine shop in space? Yeah, we don't have to launch what we build. We can build it in orbit. Yeah, absolutely. I think this type is pretty good. So We can build a Death Star. Musk and SpaceX are working on that as much as rockets fuel to launch. It's not weight, power efficient. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So if you could launch a machine up there that self-replicated or something like that, yeah. So we've spoken about the basics of some of the ways 3D printing can enhance your collection, but now it's time to show you a quick and easy repair I did recently. So I'll show you. And I actually, before I do that, let me just pull that up. I wanted to just go through some of the things that I have here that have been 3D printed. You know, one of which is I had this old vamp here, and the gun was missing, which is like a lot of them. And this file was free on Thingiverse. You just search GI Joe, you'll find it. Um, and look, it even has the twin firing guns actually function. That was a real quick, easy print to do. Didn't take very long to do, and it looks really great. Came out good. Here's some snake armor. There's actually a Cobra figure inside there, and I did a pretty cheesy paint job on it, but I like it. You got back there. You got Checkpoint Alpha, which is a mini play set. Here is a tabletop miniature, 28 millimeter that I did in filament that actually came out pretty good. So you can get decent results with a filament printer even at this small scale. Now there's some issues there. It's not the best, and you're always going to get better, sharper images with your thing. Here's the moon buggy I just printed. That's pretty fun. For 3 3/4 inch figures that just came in. The wheels spin. Really cool little guy there. You even got He-Man here. Check him out. And that was done with the thing. And like I said, I'm really just you know an amateur. I just tinker around with this stuff. And no magician. I'm just tinkering. So this is what I'm saying. Like you could do this too if you have a desire to do this. This is really fun. Most of these files I just found online, other than like the Nightwing weapons that I made, or the propeller that you're about to see. So that was my first World Made of Cardboard. Hi, how are you? Very nice to see you, sir. No, 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 no. Um, Future is now, Star Wars fans. Yes, folks pay Disney to stay on fake spaceship, but you can buy a commercial ticket to space now for real. Yeah, they really do, and it's probably not that much there. And it looks a lot better than most of the stuff that what they want us to buy. I mean, you really, some of these things do scratch that itch, more than the products that you have out there, and that's what I really like about it. You can take something and tweak it ever so slightly to what you prefer. So uh, that's just basically just some of the stuff, and I should spend more time doing this. There's some really big projects I want to do, but you get caught up with life and work and everything. Um, and that's what happens. So let's go back over here. Let's take a look. So, we've spoken about the basics. I've shown you some of the ways 3D printing can enhance your collection, but now it's time to show you a quick and easy repair I did recently. Today we're going to use a completely free online browser-based program. It's called Tinkercad. I know it's for babies. It's a student software, but it works. It's a very user-friendly, intuitive, and perfect for beginners like me to repair my MASH 4077 helicopter from 1982. That's an old helicopter. It didn't come with the rotor, and just first I suggest you find a reference photo to work from, or even draw something out. You can take a piece of paper, hold it up next to the toy, and make a mock-up or out of cardboard or something, just something to give you an idea, because you're going to want some measurements. Yeah, it's important. When you take that object, you try to break it down into its basic shapes. Tinkercad works by using existing shapes and through a process of adding, subtracting from those shapes, as well as joining those shapes together, you can make many useful items. It does have limitations, and it may not be for everyone. But I will tell you that it is intuitive and fun. And if you're new to the hobby, it's a great way to start. So here's a reference photo I have of the original rotor assembly. And as you can see, the basic shapes there. Um, I was just, switching between these two, going back and forth. I've seen other people like in Fusion 360 or Blender, you could actually take a photo and put it into the workspace and, even trace right over it, which is, very cool. And you could get exact results that way too. So this is the basic workspace in Tinkercad. Like I said, you could sign up for free. It's a browser-based program. But as you can see over here on the right-hand side, you just have basic geometric shapes. Yeah, I mean, you got a square, you've got a cylinder, ball, squiggles. You know, you could even do text. There's some important things there. Are advanced shapes there. So for going back to the rotor, basically just took a sphere. We stretched that out until it looked about right. I was just using measurements that I took off of the helicopter and then just compared to the reference photo there. My rotor blade was just basically a rectangle that we stretched out. We layered some spots on there to make a little tab for it to glue on, and then also took another slice off the side there just to make the blade fit on the build plate. And there you go. And you could take these items like the cylinder there for the main shaft, and we combined it with our little assembly here. And through a process of just adding them together, they merge into one shape. And here's a mock-up in the software that I used to do the mock-up in the software just to see if it looked, like my reference photo, which I think it does. It looks pretty close, or close enough for me. We export that item. Then we're going to take it into our slicing software. So there's many settings you can use in the slicer software, and you should really do some research and figure out the best way. So time is the greatest obstacle to people working with 3D printing. It takes time to learn the process and a lot of trial and error. Same as goes with paper model designing. It really does. But I will say that, and this could be unique to my thing, but I didn't have too many failures. Most of my original prints came out pretty good. I would say ED209 over there is probably the worst one that, I just tried to print something and that was because I just had the settings kind of all it was so much support material that it built up that it was almost encased in it. I had to dial that back a little bit, so I wasted some filament and kind of like entombed my toy. So it was kind of but arranging the items on the build plate for best results, your support settings, your infill speed, quality versus speed is kind of an option there, and then you have additional settings when you're using a resin printer. The arrangement's slightly different. You need, your placement of supports is definitely different when you're using a resin printer, and you have to hollow out or put holes in larger items because the way the resin works there, if you have a really thick item, you'd have uncured resin trapped inside. So you need some holes and some hollowing. And then print times will vary depending on what you're printing and the settings you choose. I like to see my items in the real world first and then make tweaks and refine the design. That's just me. So I'll usually print something up fast and low quality just to kind of see it in real life. That's kind of what I did with this first attempt at the rotor for the helicopter. I kind of printed it. It's you can see it's kind of bent there and it's got a lot of issues, but we've refined that. So here's just an example of just everything kind of just haphazardly, slapped into your slicing software, and you're probably not going to get great results that way. So you lay everything flat, arrange it nicely. You got some, a little preview there. You can see where your support material is going to go. A little brim around the edge just for adhesion, and this took about an hour and 40 minutes, no, maybe an hour and 4 minutes. It's on a really fast profile there. And so let's take a look at it. It's right back here. We can take a look and see how it came out. So I'll hold you up there. So these came out a lot better, nice and straight. We've got our pieces there, and I'll maybe put them in the toy cam so you can see them a little nicer. So those were the blades, and here's some of the other pieces, and that's a really thick brim there. I think on the second print because surprise, guys, I already printed and assembled it. So this is V2 rotor all put together and ready for action. So yeah, there's a couple differences in this one. In this one, I left a hole in the middle there, and I'll explain why I did that because my original, came out. Not as good as I wanted to. It was a little rough. I think that these pieces here came out a lot smaller than I wanted them to, and they didn't match the original as well. So I just thickened those up. Then I had this cap on the end there, and originally I was going to just make this so it would just sit over the top and just appear to be on there, but not be fully attached. And then there's someone I know who's a real pain in the butt, and he kept nagging me to make something that fits. Because there was a device there, and I don't know if you could see it, but if you spin the wheel on this helicopter, it turns that little shaft inside there. So when you roll it, it's supposed to spin the blade on the helicopter, which wasn't a feature that was very important to me. But he couldn't let up on it, and I kind of, as I was designing this, I had this thing in my head there. This is fine. I'm good stopping right there. I think that looks pretty good. Um, Now the rotors are a little shorter than the original, but I'm okay with that. I think with some paint, a little sanding and some paint, that could look like a really nice replacement piece and display perfectly well. I left this pass through because I was working on creating something that adapts to that shaft inside there and will spin it. But here's the piece right here. It broke because it's just a little too small, and I made these pieces a little too long. So I've got to go back and revise that. But with that hole in the top, it'll be easy to maybe try several different sizes and add it there. Now, um, to me, that works pretty well. So let's just check in right here. Um, The world made a cardboard saying, I go through several iterations in printing and building a paper model. The final product is usually a best to meet the need concept. I have a box full of prints that didn't make the cut. Absolutely. Uh, I mean, that's just, because you want to see how it looks in real world, inside the design software. And I'm sure, you definitely would excel at this. I think you uh, be able to blow away any results that I get in a very short period of time if you were to get into this because what you do already is amazing. And then Kieran Ball saying, so when do you start printing and building your own Airwolf helicopter? Well, as soon as I get an ST, if I had a model on that, and there are some on there, and I've got this whole bank of. It's just funny that you mentioned that because I've got this whole bank of just like future projects, like pie in the sky. If I had the time to do these things, I would do them. And I think one of them is a small model of that helicopter, that someone put out there, and taking that, and stretching it out, building it would be really, kind of a pie in the sky thing, and if laxing as fast as possible. Yes, I would love to do it because, I've seen there was a Kickstarter and a company doing that. I just think that, um, and this is just, my opinions out there, or even like upscaling something to, like I see one of my friends here wants this checkpoint alpha done in classified scale, and that's great. You could scale those things up. Jordan saying yes, he's got a bunch of STL files, but it does take a lot of time to print some of these things. That moon buggy, um, The main body there was all one piece. The wheels only took like an hour, but that main piece took like 9 hours to do. And this whole rotor assembly only took an hour and a half. It's not much material, so it came out pretty quickly and easily. Um, but those classified big projects do take a long time. But a lot of people charging for printed items, you know, I think 3D printing. Do I think it's there for like selling? Especially at hundreds of dollars for a large item. I don't know. What I mean, some people can make the argument that it's not. Some people can make the argument that it is there. It really depends on what your purpose is. What you're going to use it for. Um, but I think that if you want to classified scale large items, why not just spend a couple $100 on a 3D printer, make it yourself, and have fun with it? I don't know. Or you pay someone just 200 bucks for it, and then you get it. And I've heard people have buyer's remorse. They don't realize that the 3D printed filament is not the same as injected molded plastic. It's not the same thing. And when you're making it yourself and you see the process and you're involved in it, it's a lot easier to be satisfied with the end result. So then I think I just had one other thing, just questions and comments. So yeah, and then thanks for watching. So we can get rid of that. I don't know, guys. It was World Made a Cardboard saying the first time I saw 3D printing, it was online, and they made a rocket car from Buckaroo Banzai. Oh my god, I love it. And it took a few hours to print. Yeah, um, I think yeah, the first time I saw anything with 3D printing was back when it was in really rudimentary state, and you know yeah, it took a very long time to do that thing. You might be able to make it classified scale out of other stuff too. It doesn't have to be 3D printed. Absolutely, but not many people have the skills to make. You know what I mean? I think that the ability for the average person to get good results from a 3D printed item versus cutting, gluing, planning, making all in their head or just by scratch. I think those two things are kind of leagues apart. So for someone who's buying something like you know an entry level printer and just printing up some files that they got off online, I think that the satisfaction from getting good results would come quicker with a 3D printer than it would from, repeatedly taking cardboard or styrene sheet and making your own display or things like that. But passion is what drives those things. If you have a passion to do these things, if you get enjoyment from doing them, then practicing, repeating, making, and experimenting is really not something that is a chore. It's a joy. So for me, I love doing this stuff. I love messing with this, and even if the result isn't great, I try to make the most of it. If something comes out kind of chewed up, it's battle damaged. If it comes out and it's not exactly the parameters that I did it, I get the scale wrong. Then you know what? That version was hit with a shrink ray and or mutated somehow. I try to make it work for me. World Made a Cardboard saying, I'm looking to one day get a 3D printer. I've said it before, but my hand would be life in plastic. It's fantastic. Nice, nice. That is great. And I'm sure you would do just amazing things with it. Your handle. Yeah, I got that. But yeah, I'm sure you would just, knock it, out of the park. The things you've done with just the paper craft alone, designing and laying that out and getting it working. Um, I love that though because I love the aesthetic of the paper craft. I love the fact that you're just taking card stock, printing on it, and coming up with something awesome. Because which one of us didn't do that? Draw something. If I needed a computer terminal, I would take just a little cardboard box from a soap box or something, and glue some construction paper on it and draw a bunch of missiles on it, and now it was a crate of missiles. We did that when we were kids, but I don't really see many people doing that. Or being that creative now. And I learned a lot of these things just from like art class and kindergarten. Or we had a great art teacher. She was always making little crafty things, but then I would take those skills and use them to make things for my action figures. My art teacher once said, "You should keep the failures so you could show your kids, people, where you started." Sure, absolutely. And like I said, this wasn't meant to be something that I'm some know-it-all about 3D printing. That I'm going to show you how it's done. And I was just showing you that it's really just a lot easier than most people think it is. It's just when I talk to a lot of people, they seem to I think it's like when you have so many choices, you kind of get like paralyzed. Like there's just so much out there, and then taking that first step into it. But I got to tell you that if you just start with just about any, um, just reading some reviews. Obviously, don't buy the cheapest thing you find, or enter one of those Facebook ads where it's like a fake item for really cheap cheap price. Uh, but if you were to just do your minor research, get something, even if it was entry level. You're not going to get all the bells and whistles, but you could still get good results. It's pretty easy. It's not too hard. There's a little more configuration and adjustments and things like that that need to be done with like a resin or a filament printer. The resin printer is going to get you good results. And the reason I don't have one of these printed in resin right now, because I did design it so it'll fit on the resin build plate, was that you know not for me so much, but the family, they really don't like the fumes. It kind of has this weird smell, so I don't want to expose them to that. So I'm trying to look for like a place in my garage or somewhere else I could use that resin printer. Uh, you know, so Jordan's saying there's a lot of gatekeeping in this part of the hobby too. Yeah, I mean there are some people. I've met a few people in life where they're into something and you ask them about it and they're just kind of like, you wouldn't understand, and they kind of just dismiss it. But I would love to see more people into it because I'm having a lot of fun with it. And like I said, even if my results aren't up to your standards, but or you would do this differently or that differently, well then do it, man. Get out there, do it, make it the best for you. Now if I was selling these items or marketing them in some way, then yeah, I think there's levels of quality control that you have to adhere to or exceed, and I would never try to sell someone something I made just in my spare time here, with the expectation that it was a professionally processed part. So yeah, Kieran Ball saying, "Put your family in the garage and get out of the 3D printing." Kieran Ball's hilarious. Yes, yes, that's what I was talking about. All right, you guys waiting here until the 3D print is done. Mm, mm. Well, that's all I had, guys. So if any of you have questions, I'm happy to sit around and chat and we can talk about it. But if not, I'm going to go ahead and just wrap it up. Like I said, if you're in the future watching this and you get anything out of this, great. If not, please don't beat me up too bad. I'm just a beginner, just a guy, just trying to have some fun. Okay, so I'm not. I don't want to fight you. All right, I just wanted to have some fun and 3D print some stuff. All right. Uh, I think that's it, guys. So I want to thank you guys for coming by and hanging out with me. I know this is kind of a surprise thing. We just slapped it up there and did it. So I'm glad you were able to come by and hang out for a little while. All right. Thank you so much. I hope you guys have a great day. I think Bill from Fantastic Toy Adventures is doing a stream at 1 today, and it's going to be a spooky Halloween theme. So it should be fun. Yeah, hey, there he is. Don't forget to join me at noon central. And then we've got World Made of Cardboard. Right now, 3D printing is a niche market. Yep. But I do see it advancing to a finished product soon. Look at TV. It used to take a huge theater. Now it fits in your pocket. Yeah, absolutely. Uh, but I think as a toy collector, even a value 3D printer offers a lot of value. and enhancement to your collection. And if you're a creative person, I think it's a great way to expand your toy collecting hobby. Uh, Kieran Ball saying, great live stream, Will and chat. Take care, everyone. Hey, thank you so much, everyone watching, and for those watching in the future. You guys have a great day.